U.S. Senator John McCain has died at the age of 81. His passing comes after a battle with brain cancer that was first diagnosed in July of 2017. The Republican from Arizona was a giant in American politics, respected on both sides of the aisle. He was elected to the Senate 6 times. He ran for president twice. John McCain served in the U.S. Navy for more than 20 years. As a captain, he was shot down over North Vietnam, held there as a prisoner of war for more than 5 years. Again, he ran for president twice. In 2008, he became the Republican nominee for president, eventually losing to Barack Obama. Most recently, he has been an outspoken critic of President Donald Trump. Our Dana Bash has a look back at John McCain's distinguished political career.
His dramatic Senate return against doctors' orders after being diagnosed with brain cancer.
I've been a member of the United States Senate for 30 years.
His late-night thumbs down that single-handedly crushed his party's push to repeal and replace Obamacare. John McCain's last big moment in the political spotlight captured so many of the complexities of his character. A stubborn man who survived many a brush with death, who spent a lifetime looking for moments to shine as a leader and put country first. Yet forever a hot dog fighter pilot with dramatic flair and white-knuckle political instincts. John Sidney McCain III was born with a storied legacy of service to live up to. His father and grandfather were both 4-star admirals.
His father and his grandfather instilled in him a sense of duty, honor, and country.
Young McCain's passion was literature. He was a voracious reader all his life.
Hemingway has always been my favorite author, in many ways a larger-than-life figure that I always admired a lot.
Yet McCain followed the path of larger-than-life figures in his own family, enrolling at the Naval Academy, where he stood out for being a troublemaker, not a future leader.
I'm the guy that stood 5th from the bottom of his class at the Naval Academy.
He became a fighter pilot. His first combat mission during the Vietnam War was aboard the USS Forrestal. On deck, his plane was accidentally struck by a missile, causing a huge inferno. 134 fellow sailors died. A few months later, McCain was on a routine bombing mission. His plane was shot down.
I was gyrating very violently, almost straight down, so I had to eject very quickly. I was knocked unconscious.
He found himself surrounded by angry villagers swinging bayonets. The North Vietnamese forced him to give this interview in exchange for life-saving treatment.
I'm treated well here.
He was taken as a prisoner of war and tortured.
He was beaten on a regular basis, being hung by his arms from a ceiling, sockets pulled out.
When his father, Jack McCain, was named commander of U.S. Pacific Forces, the Vietnamese offered John McCain freedom. He refused. It would have broken POW protocol, release in order of capture.
There was a correlation between my refusal to accept early release and my treatment. The treatment got very much worse.
Ultimately, they broke McCain, getting him to sign a statement admitting to claims against him, which he regretted the rest of his life.
After he signed it, I think he wanted just to die.
Because he felt so disloyal?
He felt shame that he had let the country down.
Finally, after nearly 5.5 years in prison, McCain was released.
You still see the impact of that today, the way he was tied, the way he can't raise his arms, his hands, can't comb his hair, the things that we take for granted.
His marriage to first wife Carol, who waited anxiously for McCain while imprisoned, fell apart. Captain McCain became a naval liaison to the U.S. Senate, where he caught the political bug. In 1982, he ran for the House from Arizona, home with new wife Cindy, and won.
John McCain.
4 years later, it was on to the U.S. Senate. Early on, controversy, the Keating Five. McCain and 4 other senators met regulators investigating the failed savings and loan bank of Charles Keating, a McCain contributor.
I am, of course, relieved that I have been exonerated.
An investigation cleared McCain of wrongdoing, but rebuked him for poor judgment. The episode sent McCain on a crusade to clean up Washington, pushing campaign finance reform, fighting big tobacco, railing against earmarks.
That's our obligation and our duty to the American people.
Everything with passion. humor.
He's very direct. He's also very funny. He has a way of teasing people he likes.
And thanks for the question, you little jerk.
He was a little jerk.
And a famous temper.
And be a complete jerk to his closest friends and hug you dearly next.
In the fall of 1999, McCain announced his candidacy for president. As an underdog, he got attention by being constantly available to reporters aboard his bus, the Straight Talk Express. He trounced frontrunner George W. Bush in the New Hampshire primary, but then lost South Carolina, where it got ugly and personal. McCain soon dropped out and returned to the Senate even more determined to work across the aisle with Democrats like Ted Kennedy on issues like a patient's Bill of Rights and immigration reform.
I announced my candidacy for President of the United States.
In 2008, his second presidential bid. This time, he was the heir apparent, but McCain's support for a surge of troops in Iraq and bipartisan work on immigration reform hurt him with GOP voters. His poll numbers plunged. He held town halls in New Hampshire, talked border security instead of immigration reform, and climbed back.
The fact that you're getting a second chance, sir, what does that say to you?
It means that we are happy at how far we've come.
After securing the GOP nomination, he had to pick a running mate. Close friend, Democrat turned independent Joe Lieberman was his first choice.
So I hear.
He never told you that?
No, he did.
Aides convinced McCain that Lieberman's support for abortion rights made it impossible. McCain still went bold. First-term Alaska Governor Sarah Palin. At first, Palin helped McCain draw conservative support he was lacking. But after some bizarre interviews, many campaign aides considered her a liability.
Putin rears his head and comes into the airspace of the United States.
McCain would never say he regretted choosing Palin.
He doesn't talk about it.
No.
Ever.
And he never will.
The economic collapse in September 2008 ultimately sealed McCain's defeat. Still, he worked to stay out of gutter politics, taking the mic from a voter who claimed Barack Obama was Arab.
No, ma'am.
And giving a concession speech that marked the historic moment for the country.
This is an historic election, and I recognize the special significance it has for African Americans, and for the special pride that must be theirs tonight.
McCain settled into life as a senior statesman, fulfilled a dream of becoming Senate Armed Services Chairman, and traveled around the world every chance he got. An informal diplomat and an informed senator. When President Trump was elected, McCain took it upon himself to reassure world leaders, visiting 26 countries and 4 continents in the first 6 months of 2017 alone. Even at age 80, McCain liked to travel with and mentor younger senators in both parties, forging close relationships.
He is loyal to his friends. He loves his country. And if he has to stand up to his party for his country, so be it. He would die for this country. I love him to death.
His July 2017 brain cancer diagnosis and treatment for it forced McCain to slow down. But he hated pity. This is how he always wanted to be remembered, paraphrasing his political hero, Teddy Roosevelt.
I've had the most wonderful life and career that anybody you will ever meet.
Thank you.
Dana Bash, CNN, Washington.
A man who kept that positive attitude till the end, who kept his sense of humor, who kept his appreciation for life, for service. Let me read you the statement we got from Senator McCain's office this evening. It reads, Senator John Sidney McCain III died at 4:28 p.m. on August 25, 2018. With the senator when he passed were his wife Cindy and their family. At his death, he has served the United States of America faithfully for 60 years. I want to bring in CNN's Dana Bash. And Dana, I know you've been close with John McCain, with his family. You've been keeping in touch with those who are close to him in his final days and final hours. What do we know about what has been happening there with that friend and family and all of these people who have been rallying around him in these last few moments?
Well, what happens, unfortunately, so many of us know from friends and family who have suffered this horrible disease of cancer, that when the end comes, and in the case of Senator McCain, as we heard officially from his office yesterday, he decided to stop treatment. Everybody gathers for what obviously is something that they knew was inevitable, but it's obviously not the same as knowing as it happening. And, you know, Senator McCain is a father, is a grandfather. He's got a loving wife, 7 kids, and friendships that are so close. Somebody who knows him very well said that they're like love affairs, the friendships that he has forged over his entire lifetime. Speaking of friends, I just wanted to read you a tweet that we just saw from Lindsey Graham, who you just saw in that piece there, saying, "America and freedom have lost one of her greatest champions, and I've lost one of my dearest friends and mentor." That's coming from Lindsey Graham. And I also just want to, as we soak in this news, and you talked about his final moments and his family being around him, one of the gifts that Senator McCain and his longtime collaborator and dear friend Mark Salter has given to us is insight into how he thought, how he felt about the world, but also about his own mortality, particularly towards the end. And in his most recent book, Restless Wave, he wrote, "I'd like to go back to our valley and see the creek after the rain and hear the cottonwoods whisper in the wind." There he's talking about his beloved home, really the only home he knew because he was a military kid and traveled around all his life. Arizona, and this particular house where he passed away, he loved so much. And he wrote, "I want to smell the rose-scented breeze and feel the sun on my shoulders. I want to watch the hawks hunt from the sycamore and then take my leave, bound for a place near my old friend Chuck Larson in the cemetery on the Severn, back where it began." So the Severn referring to the river near Annapolis, the Naval Academy where he went, where his father and grandfather, admirals both, also attended, and where we believe that he is going to be buried, Anna.
Dana Bash, I'm going to let you go so you can continue to gather some more information.